This is the Object 140, the Tier 10 Russian medium on Arctic region. It works pretty much just like all the other Russian mediums. It's relatively quick, has a good turret armor on it. The turret roof itself is a little bit weak, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. On Arctic region, particularly from this northeast spawn, it's important to secure the northwest area over here. When we look at the matchups, we have a Batchat and a Leopard 1 for speed on our side, along with our light tanks. On their side, they have a couple of Leopard 1s in addition to their light tanks. So those are the tanks that we're going to be looking out for on our way up there. And so ideally what we want to be able to do is push into and secure this northwest area, particularly when there's no artillery or, you know, a very low amount or small tier artillery. If you can get up into this area, it ends up being very effective because you can spot for your team, and it also provides a different angle of fire, which is usually pretty helpful in these types of situations. So we're going to head out here, and we see that our E50 is going with, the Batchat's going with 1375. We've got the Leo 1 has stopped back here a little bit. Our 1390 is camping up here, and the majority of our team goes to the south, which tends to happen a lot in pub battles. So the Batchat has already gone down. That's a good sign. He's straying a little bit to the south. What you want to be able to do is, or what I'm looking for here as I drive in here, is that if I see fast tanks pushing into this area, then maybe I'll go into this little ditch over here and use that to hold down. But if I don't, then I'll go in the direction that I'm going so that I can secure this hill. Because once I have this hill, I have a slight elevation advantage on them, and that minimizes the turret weaknesses of the 140. It also allows me to light these guys back here for our guys. Most of our guys are still sitting back on this little plateau here, which happens a lot in pub games. Our Batchat is forward though, so we'll be able to get some shots on these guys. So they have an IS-3 down low. Their 268 is trying to push forward a little bit to get shots. So we want to just make sure that we keep all these guys honest. Right, and so it's relatively easy to light them from this range. So we know that they have two 10s over here and an 8, at least what we've seen so far. So every so often what I'll do is I'll back up a little bit and stick the edge of my turret over the south hill here to look at the IS-3, make sure that there's nothing else coming, keep the IS-3 from moving forward, keep him lit. And then until then, you know, we're just dealing with the 268. The 268 has the biggest damage dealing capability there. But given the number of tanks that we have here, we need to start working a little bit faster, since we have, you know, a AMX-50B on the ledge behind us along with our E50. The Batchat's up here with me, and our Leo 1 is in the middle. They don't really have a whole lot on the side. When they don't have a lot on the side, you need to bully, and you need to just take them out as fast as you possibly can. So their M60 is moving out a little bit. And so when the IS-3s hold down like that, they made a turret weakness on the IS-3. It's you basically shoot the little Mohawk on top and it will go through. The 140 has a similar turret weakness in terms of shooting at the roof of the turret, but again, as long as you're on a higher elevation, that's usually not an issue. So the M60 is running away. Unfortunately, we've, you know, even though we sent a large part of our number of our tanks down to that south side, we've lost it. So we're going to need to flex back at this point. And really, what should happen is all of these guys, for the most part, should flex back. You might want to leave one or two guys as basically a sentry to prevent them from just driving across open areas. But pretty much, if you have a good gun and/or armor, you should be headed back. So we're already down a couple of tanks and a significant chunk of health that we're going to need to try to make up here. And one of the things that you do when you come back to the base in a situation like this is, and the reason why we talk about this occasionally during the stream, is you want to leave one guy as a sentry or two guys as a sentry, and that basically prevents them from taking so much map control that you end up getting squeezed in the flank. We're down a lot of tanks as is though, so there's only so much that you can do. You can't just have two weak sides, you need to have at least one strong side. And so that we have distinct clusters of tanks right now. We still control this north side over here. This T-44 is peaking a little bit. 1375 is a little bit overextended. Our Leo 1's in the middle, which doesn't really help us out too much, other than he's a little bit of bait. This Bulldog is coming around, but the 50B should be able to take care of him without a problem. So we've got this cluster right here, and then there's everybody else, essentially. So that E5 is moving around to that far side, so that's something that we're going to have to deal with at some point. Ideally, our Leo would be able to get him, but you never know in these types of situations. Our Leo has engaged him. And their Waffle 4 killed him from the middle. The Leo drove out into the open a little bit to get the E5. So we're going to have to turn around and deal with that flank. The guys on this south area here do not seem like they really want to push, so we'll go ahead and ignore them for the moment. Our E50 is still there. So this 140 is pushing up this ramp. Our T-44 on that other side got killed. But see how this 140 is pushing our 1375? I want to be able to take this guy out. This 1375 still needs to fall back just a little bit.
It's a trap!
Unfortunately now he's also getting pushed by the Leo, and so I'm not going to be able to save him. I switched to HE because I had this vague thought that I'd be able to save him, but then the Leo turns into side profile like that, which is not very good for me shooting HE at him. And then I just kind of tanked that shot, so yeah, that was my bad. And then so now I'm getting surrounded a little bit, right? The E5 is still somewhere in the back. We don't know exactly where. The Patton was down there as well at one point. The Leo's on this side. I don't know where the 263 is. So the E5 has gone around to the other side. So I need to figure out, is that 263 still in the same area? I know the Leo 1's taking pot shots at the rear of my guys, and then I see that the M60 is here. So the M60 I can bully, and I can get him into a distinct engagement where I'm basically safe if the 263 was still back in that first area, but he's not. The 263 has moved up onto that north side. So the 263 is basically in the area that I just vacated. The Leo 1 is still in the same place where he was. Neither of them really have shots on me. Our guys in the base are pushing through to the south, which is what they should do. The 263 is giving chase. And so the Leo 1 is currently out of position.
It's a trap!
So this 263 is pushing in. So all this E50 has to do is just bait him in. I can take a shot from the 263, but for some reason the E50 just sits there. All he has to do is just back up the ramp a little bit, and he could have survived. I missed my track shot, but it doesn't really matter because I'll be able to get to the side of this guy pretty easily. Then unfortunately our 50B kind of kills himself there. When I'm on the side of a tank destroyer like that, it'll just be a matter of time for me to kill him. So the 50B didn't need to die there, but in this particular case it's okay. Their Leo 1 has not moved up. Right, so he did not move up to support the 263, so maybe he went around to the flank. It's kind of hard to tell, so we'll go and check that side. And we see he's taking the long way around.
It's a trap!
And it kind of looks like he's cutting out to the west, so I start heading down here because I don't want to get I don't want to let him be unlit for too long because he is a faster tank than me, and he's got a better gun for range. But we see that he ended up cutting back and going up along through that southeast area here. I was not lit, so all I have to do is cut him off, basically. So that's what I'm relocating to do right now. And it was a situation where if he continued going west, then basically I would head towards his cap and try to find him. There's still plenty of time to do so, but being able to light him here was fortuitous. And then it's just about making sure that you make your shots count here. You know, I have more health than him. It's just a matter of bullying. Okay, and so the way that this round unfolded is essentially we pushed northwest hard, and we saw that they had 2 10s and an 8 over here, and we wanted to clean that up. We wanted to bully there as quickly as possible, and I think it took us about 3 minutes from the start of the game. So by around 12 minutes or so, pretty much everything here was dead, and then by that time we needed to head back. So in 3 minutes we also lost the other half of our team, unfortunately. But that, you know, the strength of playing in medium tanks is that you can always relocate, and so at that point we flex back and protect the base, and then figure out where you can attack into these individual pockets, like those guys that were charging the 1375, their 140, their Leo, their M60 ended up being ISO'd, and then it's just a string of ISOs, right? So M60 ISO, E75 ISO, 263 ISO, Leo ISO, you know, all of them just 1v1 matchups instead of 1v2, 1v3. And those are the types of things that you're trying to look to exploit, especially when you're down tanks, down health. You know, get matchups that you can deal with and start taking out tanks. And that's really the important thing to focus on in those types of situations. And so if we look at the stats from those rounds, or that round, it's pretty much as predictable. And like I said, it's important to try to get, you know, as much early damage as possible, particularly if you push out on a flank like we did. You know, get damage, you know, create opportunities for your team on that 268. Make sure that you get damage where you can. You know, don't be too passive in terms of using your gun, and not overexposing yourself, of course. You know, we didn't take any damage up there, I don't think. No, we took 1 shot of damage from the M60. But in return, we basically killed the IS-3. Our team killed the 268. I think we got a couple shots on him, and we took the the M60 down pretty far. And then by then, our team had pretty much collapsed a little bit on the other side, so it was important to go back. And so you'll notice that most of the damage on that team came from those guys who went north, the E50, the 50B, both of whom went back to the base. The E100 is the guy that went south. So it's important to be able to read the map, and, you know, those guys that were on the northwest with me, instead of continuing forward, it's important to go back to the base and make sure that you don't lose the base, rather than continue pushing forward, because that's how you win games. Anyhow, so I hope that was helpful for playing the 140 or playing certain areas on Arctic region, and most importantly for sort of playing from behind in terms of what kind of opportunities you're looking for. You know, how close do you stay to your teammates? You know, at what point do you look to flank? At what point do you look to cluster? You know, these are important questions that you sort of have to address as you're playing these types of games. Anyhow, so I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.